What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Welcome back to another episode of The Stream Scene. I am joined here by my lovely co-host, TheHunterWild, and hopefully he doesn't sneeze before he talks. What's up, Hunter?
The introduction of the last one, she introduces me, and I'm like, oh, hi, good morning.
Way to pass you.
Yeah, it was miserable. The allergies haven't been too bad, which is fortunate. Sleep hasn't been too great, though. It's a little bit of back and forth. I'm feeling pretty good today. Now, Lowco, you seem to be in pretty good spirits, too.
Nice. I tried.
Now, as per usual, I'm immensely excited for today's show. I'm ready to take all of the notes.
Oh, good, me
another
too.
Episode where
all of us.
Another topic wwhere Hunter and I don't know anything, and we just listen to our guests tell us things.
Yeah. Today's gonna be massively informative. And if you're here at the beginning, I highly recommend that you actually bust out pen and paper and take some notes. This is going to be immensely useful, and it's stuff that there are things that the landscape changes a little bit over time, and we'll see that especially in this like ever changing. Well, I wanted to use landscape again, but you can't really do that. Ecosystem.
Ecosystem's good.
Ecosystem's a nice one. Yeah, there's a lot of synergy there. And the utility of the information that we're getting today, it should be immediately practical, and something that by and large will be useful moving on into the future.
Important.
Yeah. So we are joined by a brilliant, wonderful, and ridiculously handsome guest today. Oh, wrong guest. Oh, my bad.
Darn it.
No, tell us about yourself. What you're doing here, what your expertise is, how you got here.
Hi. My name is Noah Downs. I'm a lawyer, but I'm a cool lawyer. And after all that wonderful stuff you just said about how practical and amazing and taking notes, I gotta say something. Otherwise, I'll lose my license to practice law, which is everything I'm about to say is for legal information purposes only. The facts in your particular case may be different, and in fact, often are. So in the event that you actually run into a situation where you have to use some of this information, please call your lawyer. If you don't have a lawyer, I can help you find one.
So this is not a replacement for
This is not a replacement for legal advice. It is for information, so you can kind of have a good idea of what to do as you go into it. Now that I've ruined everything. Hi, I'm Noah. I'm a lawyer, but I'm a cool lawyer. So what that means is essentially I work in the entertainment space. My bread and butter is working with content creators, with game devs, with developers on Twitch, on Mixer, etc., and helping them achieve their goals and protect what's theirs. And so part of that is I work heavily in the intellectual property protection and enforcement space. This thing right here is a certificate I got from University of Richmond, where I went to law school, basically stating, hey, this guy knows a thing or two about copyright or trademark. No, it doesn't have my name on it. I'm kidding. But thank you for the courtesy laugh. But it's
a little toner in the corner.
Yeah, it's an incredibly intricate and detailed space, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And so I find that in this particular area of in this particular industry, I should say, that there's a lot of need for intellectual property help from attorneys, such as myself. There's also Ryan Morrison, Michael Lee, Angela Alcide, and Joel Liu, Sheehan Law. And we're all here to help you, because in this space, it's the Wild West when it comes to law.
Yeah.
With everything, pretty much. I mean, it's such a new industry, and a lot of people go into this as a hobby. They don't realize, when you go full time, this becomes a business, and there are legal and business aspects that you will need to learn. So we're going to try to do our best during this episode to lay out the basics and be as concise as possible, so your brain isn't too flooded with information. But we want to make sure that we cover these important topics, especially with, the recent drama, I guess you could say, that's been, last week with Lyric, a couple months ago, we had some streamers taken down for music infringement. So I think the best way to start is by going over some basic definitions,
Mhm.
Noah.
Yeah.
If you would enlighten us with, what is copyright? What is trademark? Like,
To
what are
put us
these
all on the
terms
same
that,
page.
right? What are these terms we hear often, but may not exactly know what it means?
Now this
Right.
I'm ready for.
All right, good. So there's two basic terms you need to know. First of all, well, let me back that up. There's 4 areas of intellectual property. We're going to talk about 2 of them today. The first one that we're not talking about is patent law, patent. You've heard about that stuff, patent pending. I'm not talking about it. It's different. It's for inventions and actual mechanical works that you create. There's trade secret law, which is similar to patent law in that it's, a secret of a trade. It could be inventions. It could be a way of doing things. We're not talking about that today. Today, we're going to talk about trademark and copyright. And a lot of folks on Reddit, etc., have used the terms interchangeably. They're very different. Trademark is there to protect a consumer. So, for example, if I go to the store and I want to buy, give me a random example, Hot Pockets. And because, I'm worried about all the tornadoes in my area. By the way, there's a massive tornado warning. My phone is blowing up. I just got another one.
He's really taken one for the team here on the show today.
So if I want to go buy Hot Pockets because I'm worried about tornadoes, trademark is what protects me and lets me know that the product I'm buying comes from Hot Pockets Incorporated or whatever they are. Because it's a source and identifies a source of goods or services. It's there for your protection. Trademark comes in 3 main forms. You've got a logo, a slogan, and a name. So for instance, the logo would be the Hot Pocket stylized logo. It has the term Hot Pockets. It's red. It's got the gold border. The name would be Hot Pockets, and it's in any way that you can put it. So black and white, clear, invisible ink, etc. The slogan, I think, is literally just them singing the term Hot Pockets.
Hot Pocket.
That one. Exactly. That's why you hear the screamer. And so that would be their slogan, which all 3 of them involve the term Hot Pockets, but you get where I'm coming from. So they can file with the government to protect that. When we're talking about the DMCA and copyright, trademark has nothing to do with it. DMCA literally stands for Digital Millennium Copyright Act. It has copyright right in the name. So everything I just told you about trademark, file it away for later when we want to talk about trademarks and infringement there.
So you're saying the trademark protects consumers. So I assume that realistically, it sounds like it's meant to allow us, when we're looking at products, buying products, engaged in a service, making sure that we know what we're getting, that it's the thing that it claims to be.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay. And so on the other hand, copyright protects your hard work as a person. Copyright attaches, and I'm about to throw some legalese and then I'll explain it. Copyright attaches when you have taken an idea and fixed it in a tangible medium of expression. And its most basic layman's terms, it's when I draw a smiley face on a piece of paper, I have a copyright on that smiley face. Because I have taken an idea of a smiley face and fixed it on the paper in a tangible, meaning you can touch it, medium of expression, which is pen and paper. Copyright is extremely broad, but essentially it occurs whenever that happens. Things that you might think are copyrightable that aren't, for example, are something that's fleeting. So if Twitch did not save your VODs, your VODs, and I don't know which term you would prefer to use here. If they didn't save your VODs, your stream would actually likely have no copyright attached to it because it would be fleeting. It wouldn't be stored anywhere. And there's a lot of law related to copyright and film, for example.
And so this would be just like if I did a street performance.
Exactly.
Just like on a whim, like I'm not holding those same rights there.
Exactly. So for instance, when you're giving a presentation And if you say you use your presentation and you're using a PowerPoint, your PowerPoint will be copyrighted. Your presentation itself, when talking along with your PowerPoint, will not have a copyrightable interest unless somebody records it or you write it down beforehand. So that at its most basic is copyright. Some of the other terms we're going to use today that are important for everybody out there to know, and also I wrote an article about this if you want to refer to it. Would it be helpful if I provided a link to that article, actually?
Yeah.
It's on Medium, and let's take a minute to talk about the DMCA. And I'm going to provide that here so you can kind of follow along with these definitions. Hey, look at me using chat. All right, there you go. So we're going to talk about infringement. So basically that's when someone uses someone else's work without the proper licenses. So using music without permission, using art without permission, using portions of this stream without permission. Don't do it, guys. Liable is what happens when someone's legally responsible for something. So for example, if I have a child, I'm liable for that child. Don't have one yet that I know of. The copyright holder is someone who holds the actual copyright. And then there's a bunch of other terms. We'll talk about DMCA, service providers, sync licenses, and perjury. Perjury is important. Perjury is when you essentially lie under oath. It's bad. It's a criminal offense. When you submit a DMCA claim, you're submitting it under penalty of perjury. You could go to jail if you lie.
So you really, when you're filing a DMCA claim, when you're submitting this, you need to know what you're doing. You don't just willy-nilly do this, even though apparently sometimes that does happen. But you should know what you're doing. You should be doing, because you're running a serious risk. Oh yeah, you could go to jail. And that also counts for DMCA counterclaims. Now that's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but we'll talk about that shortly. So yeah, that's all the basic terms you need to know. Trademark, copyright, two very different things. We're talking about copyright today, and it's fixed in a tangible medium of expression. It has to do with artwork, with creations, etc.
So we can start by talking about what you were starting to talk about, which is kind of the reason we decided to put the show together, which is the whole lyric situation.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, I think it was last week or the week before.
Last Monday or Sunday.
Yeah, a week ago. Yeah. So Lyric Stream was taken down while he was playing, I believe, Call of Duty, the Blackout mode, and it turned out that a DMCA claim was filed. Like, that was the reason why his stream was taken down. But it was a whole mess because the people that filed the claim was from soccer.
Yeah, the
right?
UEFA. So what happened, and this is bizarre, and I think Lyric still has the tweets up if any of you want to go look at it. He got suspended for a 24-hour ban from Twitch, essentially, because Twitch received a DMCA takedown notice from the UEFA. The UEFA, and this is to my knowledge, and somebody, Jack can correct me if I am wrong in this, the UEFA is live streaming of soccer, whether it's on broadcast television, whether it's online, etc. And so the UEFA sent a DMCA takedown notice to Twitch saying that Lyric was broadcasting material that they had ownership of and that he did not have the right to, he was not authorized to be broadcasting to everybody. And it's hilarious because at the time, Lyric was not playing even FIFA. So what was he playing, Lowco? Do you know?
I think he was playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, it was Call of Duty. Like, there's no confusion there. Like, you can't see that grenade and go like, oh, it's a football. It's no big deal.
Yeah,
like,
it's you can't even like pretend like, hey, it's Rocket League or something like that. It just doesn't work.
No similarity.
And so what's crazy about that is that the UEFA, allegedly, it might not have actually been the UEFA. And we'll get into that in a second. But the UEFA live streaming is the copyrighted work. Submitted the DMCA takedown notice. Now, the minute that Twitch receives a DMCA takedown notice, they have to take down the work. And
they
if the
need to
person
at least to protect themselves, right?
exactly,
Because otherwise they're on the hook. They're liable.
And the reason that Twitch has to do that is because otherwise they'll lose their safe harbor protection.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And
Write that down. So the reason we have safe harbors, now we're going to go back into the annals of the digital world. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act was not created to allow people to take down material. It was created to protect service providers like YouTube, like Twitch, like Mixer, etc., like Google even. And there was a very famous case, and I actually, since this is a relatively family-friendly stream, I really can't get into it, but it had to deal with the pornography industry and Google image search that led to the DMCA really being tested. The reason that YouTube, Twitch, etc., have to take it down is because they are service providers. The DMCA allows them to host content, but escape liability from the masses by giving them safe harbors. Now, imagine if you are YouTube and you have literally, I think it's something, I wrote it down actually, 300 hours of content uploaded every minute. There's no way that, yeah, exactly. 300 hours of content uploaded every minute to YouTube. There's no way you can police all of that and say that it's not infringing. So someone uploads the entirety.
There's no workforce size that would ever possibly let you do that.
It's insane. And so he uploads the entirety. Someone uploads the entirety of John Wick. Well, Joe Schmo in his basement who uploaded it doesn't have very deep pockets. The owners of John Wick, all the copyright holders of John Wick, want to go after YouTube. YouTube has a ton of money. YouTube.
They're not going to get anything from the little guy who's actually putting it up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So YouTube has all the money, and so they're protected by a safe harbor, which says if they comply with DMCA takedown notices, they're protected. The minute they stop complying, they're liable. So Twitch had no choice but to comply with the DMCA takedown notice. They have to take it down once they receive that notice. So Twitch did everything that they were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. However, when you submit a DMCA notice on Twitch, you have to swear a couple of things. And actually, I can provide a link to the DMCA guidelines for Twitch in chat as well. Love being able to post links in chat. Thank you, Lowco.
Yeah.
Here you go. Follow along here. There's a lot of things that you have to provide when you have a notification of infringement or a DMCA notice. And if I get it a little bit too legalese, you two stop me.
I'll be on it, yeah.
So Twitch asks for your name, an electronic signature of someone who's authorized on behalf of the owner. Say that I am submitting, as Hunter's lawyer, I am submitting a DMCA takedown notice because Lowco's uploaded some video of Hunter that he had and he wanted to make money off of, but she uploaded and it's infringing of him.
Lowco,
come on. Basically, I would upload a DMCA takedown notice, which includes a signature that I'm authorized to act on Hunter's behalf. It would identify what the work was, or if there's multiple works, a representative list. It would ID the exact material. So the way they do it on Twitch is they give a timestamp, and so it's between here and here, and then information reasonably sufficient to allow Twitch to contact me to verify everything. And then I have to swear under penalty of perjury that I have a good faith belief that Lowco's use of that material is not authorized by Hunter. And 2, that the information I have supplied is accurate. What's crazy is that supposedly, and we're going on what's public on Twitter, so we're not into the weeds behind this. What the UEFA provided did not include the ID of the material. So it was missing an entire thing.
That's one of the really important things.
It's like the most important thing. And so not only did they allege that Lyric was doing UEFA live streaming, but they didn't identify where in his channel and where in his stream he had done it. But I believe that because, and this is pure speculation, I think that because of the nature of who submitted the DMCA takedown claim, who it was that submitted it, Twitch or Amazon or whatever lawyer was looking at it said, oh my goodness, we need to take care of this right now. So if it was UFA, that's a pretty big fish. And so they just automatically comply without verifying. Now, the problem was that Lyric wasn't doing that. He wasn't doing anything remotely close. So he got banned, a TIMPA ban for nothing. And so I think he actually has legal rights on the back end of that, and he's indicated he's exploring those.
Yeah.
But somebody lied under penalty of perjury.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody, in theory, could go to jail for that. They probably won't. That rarely happens. But it's an interesting little conundrum there.
So now, with this happening to, Lyric and where Lyric is on the scale of things, as opposed to it happening to me, it feels like this may begin to allow us to start setting the stage for greater sense of protections and understanding. For instance, we're having this show right now for people to get a basic sense of understanding, a basic education on it, as much as we can fit into the hour and a half. With it happening to Lyric has the strength, power, reach, and potential to actually respond, and possibly to a level that gets the attention of other people who may make DMCA claims. And I have a bit of appreciation for the fact that it happened to him at this time, as opposed to 2 years from now, where it may have been happening all along, in ways that wouldn't cause serious harm to either party. So I'm a little grateful, and he can weather that storm too. So it seems decent.
If what happened to him was a mistake, like, there's not really anything a streamer can do to protect themselves from that happening. If it's by mistake. But, there are things that we can do to protect ourselves. And I think that another good thing, I guess you could say, about the whole situation is it brought a lot of awareness to the existence of DMCA, which I think when we talk about this further today, you'll find that a lot of streamers actually frequently break and are subject to DMCA claims all the time. So what are some common things that you see from streamers that are subject to, legal takedowns? Oh,
man. Literally your entire profession.
Yeah, that's true.
How about that?
Yep.
Now I'll walk that back a bit. Twitch has been very good recently about reaching out to popular games such as Epic. I don't know what game they made that's popular right now, but to get licenses to have that content appear on Twitch. But in general, everything that is created on Twitch is infringing. For example, if I go out and I play Binding of Isaac, and I don't have permission from their publisher, Nicholas, to play it, and Nicholas says, oh, this Noah guy, he's a lawyer. We hate every lawyer in the world. Let's go ahead and issue a DMCA takedown because he doesn't have our permission to use this. They could take my stuff down like that because they hold all the power. I'm really happy that everybody in chat is kind of blowing up right now. Like, what? So literally the entire profession's illegal if you think about it. So, but there's ways around that. Games and developers have written licenses for streamers to use their work. For example, and this is going to another DMCA issue that arose last year, Firewatch was a game, I forget who published that game, but Firewatch had a license on their website that essentially said you can play our game, you can live stream our game as much as you want. And so PewDiePie did. And then PewDiePie dropped the N-bomb while he was playing PUBG, not even playing Firewatch. PewDiePie had done a lot of work for Firewatch the year before. It had gotten really popular, sold a lot of Firewatch. And so Firewatch came out and said, we are going to issue DMCA takedowns of every single thing that PewDiePie did. We are revoking his license to upload this game. or to stream this game, or revoking his license to keep this game and all his YouTube videos uploaded. He no longer has it. As long as they continue to stay up, we're going to issue DMCA takedowns. Very bad political move by Firewatch, because there's a lot of flack in the community that came back on them, like, how can you do this? But they were well within their rights to do it. Because the minute they revoked that license, then those videos staying up was infringement.
So a company can issue a DMCA for any reason on anybody, like for their game. Like, so like if I stream Batman and Hunter streams Batman, and they decide that they don't like Hunter, they can just DMCA him?
Yep. As long as they don't, as long as Hunter does not have permission to have that video or that stream, they can DMCA Hunter and not you.
I mean, I'm really likable, so there's probably better examples out there, but
maybe the other way around.
So literally, the power is in the game devs' hands.
Right.
And a lot of questions I got around that time were centered around, oh, well, how can Firewatch revoke PewDiePie's license, but not everybody else's? Are all the licenses revoked?
Right.
You can revoke it for a single person.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is terrifying.
But they don't, because primarily, like, we're marketers. We market their game.
Exactly.
Like,
it's symbiotic.
Right. So, for example, you'll see sometimes you'll stream and you'll see below your screen, buy this game on Steam. Those games, definitely, you have a license to stream. But know that your license can be revoked at any time. And you can get DMCAs for past stuff. Unless you specifically have it in your contract to that license is irrevocable.
So we're all just constantly floating with DMCAs all the time.
Yeah.
But now I think, so while that itself is hazardous, if I understand it correctly, and I believe you already linked Twitch's what the information they provide about their policies in regard to DMCA. I believe that they have a strike system,
right,
in place, so I could get a DMCA takedown, but I'm just going to get that 24-hour ban. You know, I don't want it, but it's vacation day.
Yeah,
and then I come back the next day, and I'm just not playing that game anymore. And I probably complain about it, but I'll keep my mouth shut and whatever. And maybe, a week later, somebody else is like, oh, he might have done a bad thing. We heard about this DMCA takedown, so we're going to have the DMCA claim. So we don't want him playing our stuff either. We don't want that kind of association. They may make the same. There's like, you can't do that. You're using our material and have it taken down again. I believe I'm still not completely out, but then I'm on the thinnest device because I think it's 3 strikes. I could be wrong about that. But they do say, Twitch does say that at any time they can take the final step. They can give you 30 tries. And if it's just a bunch of improper, incorrect claims, they'll still they have to comply. So they'll do the thing, or they want to comply. So they'll do the thing. But they can keep bringing you back and not give you that final strike. Or if it's a gross violation in their eyes, they can just first violation, you're done.
Pull the plug. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's crazy, and I forget who said this originally. I think it was a talk I had with Ryan Morrison at PAX East 2 years ago. But a YouTuber could literally have 10 different games across 100 different videos. Say they played a ton of Stardew Valley and they uploaded in segments. If a publisher wanted, they can do a DMCA for each one, and then
individually.
Yeah, each video individually. Now, YouTube is unique in that, in theory, and nobody over there has confirmed this for me because I don't think they want to make it public.
Sure.
In theory, if you receive 3 takedown notices from one person, it only counts as 1 strike.
Okay.
Unless it's 2 separate events. So, for instance, if I issue 3 takedown notices and then a 4th, and like a week later, and you've uploaded other content, that's 2. You got 3 strikes here on policy on YouTube as well. But say, for instance, PewDiePie had, so the Firewatch wanted to really screw over PewDiePie. They could get with their other indie game dev folks and say, you know what, we really don't like people saying the N-word. Let's all DMCA PewDiePie, and it would just destroy him. utterly destroy him.
Yeah.
Now that guy's got plenty of money, so he's
it's
probably
something
fine.
to keep in mind, like with how you run your channel and what kind of things you say about games, like completely trashing games. Like the developer really wanted to, and like you weren't representing their game well, or like you just weren't like a great human that they didn't want, like, you know, playing their game. Like they could just
like, for instance,
I think Jim Sterling. I think this happens to Jim Sterling a lot. He is really adamant in his critique, and it tends to be like he gets really gritty with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what all happens, but I see him constantly talking about how various companies are just throwing all kinds of lawsuits at him and various claims.
Now, you see what's interesting is that if Jim has the right, he's been approached by the company to stream the game. So, for instance, if someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I want you to stream," this might have allegedly happened. So somebody comes to you and says, "I want to pay you to stream X game." And then you say, "Okay, I'll stream X game." You have to give your honest opinion of it. You have to disclose that you #ad, all that stuff. You hate the game. It's a terrible game. And you literally say, "This game is terrible. I'm uninstalling it live on my stream. It's horrible." In theory, you've talked to your lawyer beforehand, before you got hired to do that stream. And your lawyer included that in your contract that it was an irrevocable license. So what I think is probably happening in his case is he's got a good lawyer and is including an irrevocable license in there. Now, I was honestly surprised that we didn't see this more when The Culling 2 came out. We all love the creators of The Culling, don't get me wrong. But a lot of people live uninstalled The Culling 2 on stream.
Yes, they did.
Oh, I
Lowco.
I'm a very reasonable person when I talk about like not liking a game, but that game, did not hold back on that one.
It did not.
So the irrevocable license, just the terminology itself, means it can't be taken back.
Right.
So, under normal circumstances, it's effectively somebody could maybe find a reason that they'd want to rescind, take it back, cancel it out, and then take your stuff down. But if that terminology is in place and in play, then you're good to go. And that's something that's going to be very valuable for those of us, which is most of us, for those of us who, there's a finger.
There is a finger, and that's because there are exceptions. As there are with all good things in law, because we don't rely on anything.
This is why we love lawyers.
Yeah, and so because we make things difficult. So
because you maneuver all the little the crevices that we can't see.
Any game dev that I've ever represented who has agreed to an irrevocable license has always included a morality clause.
Yeah, okay.
So even if PewDiePie had an irrevocable license to stream Firewatch and had that in writing, etc., it would have, provided, the Firewatch had a good lawyer, and I don't know who it was, would have had a morality clause saying if he does something that is immoral or reflects poorly on the developer or on the game, then they can revoke that license. So that's like dropping the N-word, or getting rung up for sexual harassment or something like that. Those are reasons, and there are like you have to go to court to get out of some irrevocable licenses, but it's possible. In general, though, you can rely on them as ironclad.
Okay, so
that's super useful. I'm writing that down, Chad.
Do it.
Outside of the fact that the games that we're playing are subject to DMCA, another thing that we've seen is music.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
While we haven't had a widespread crackdown on music yet, there was a couple months ago a group of notable streamers got DMCA'd for a certain song by a certain artist. Twitch instilled, I believe now, probably like a couple years ago, where they would mute VODs or portions of your VOD if it played copyright music.
I think that was 3 or 4 years ago, even at this point.
Yeah.
Quite a while.
So where are we at with music? Like, what's the deal?
So what happened, and somebody's asking if counter DMCA will be covered today, and the answer is yes. When it comes to music, music is so complicated. Music, I will fully admit, is one of the most complicated parts of copyright law.
And this is something you actively work with.
It's something I actively work with, and it is extremely difficult to really encompass. And I'll fully admit it's an unproven area of law. However, I work on the team at Pretzel Rocks. Pretzel is a music streaming service. Full disclosure, I am a part of that team. It's a great service.
I use it, and I think Lowco uses it as well.
Yep.
Heck yes. Thank you guys. You guys are amazing. But being part of that team has really thrust me into music law. And the reason music law is so much more difficult is because you have publishers and you have songwriters. So basically you have songwriter, you have the recording and the written part. To break it down to its most basic, you have the person who writes the song, the composition, and you actually have the recording itself, which is the audio part. So if Lowco writes the song and reverse that. If Hunter writes the song and Lowco records it, I don't know how you say Hunter, then you each, worse than me. Yeah, and I want to use the song and stream, I have to come to both of you to get the rights separately.
That already sounds complicated.
Oh, yeah. And what I need is not just a performance license. So, for instance, I can't just go to the performance rights organizations, PROs, like ASCAP and BMI, and say, hey, I need a performance license. What I need also is the right to sync the music in timed relation with the video, a sync license. And those are the most valuable music right that musicians have. Because, for instance, if Time Warner comes to you and says, I want to use your song in a movie, you're going to charge them out the butt for it. See, I just censored myself. Family friend stream. So it's extremely complicated to get all those rights. Very rarely do you ever actually end up with someone who has both the composition and the recording right. And if you can get a sync license from them very easily. It's just a matter of naming the price. So the problem that you run into when you're playing music on stream is that, for instance, if you want to play, what's your most favorite song right now?
Katy Perry.
Cool, Katy Perry. I use Katy Perry a lot in these things. So if you want to play Katy Perry doesn't own all the rights to her songs. So you can get permission, written permission. You can tweet at Katy Perry and say, Katy Perry, I'd like to use your song as in my stream. And she'd say, go for it, Lowco. And you wouldn't be able to do it because someone else could DMCA you. It's crazy. So what?
And that's just like all work for one song. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
That sounds like some Byzantine labyrinths of bad. Is there a minotaur in the middle of this law?
Oh man, there is, and it's me. No, so, but what you end up getting to is solutions on, because obviously YouTube knows, Twitch knows that without music, then their content is less rich. Mm-hmm. Music makes content richer. You guys, when you're playing, you want to hear stuff. Like you guys are both very entertaining individuals, but if like you end up going off to the restroom or something, your chair's there, it's very quiet without music. Same with YouTube. It builds drama and adds to everything. They know it's important. So YouTube has developed Content ID, and Twitch has developed VOD muting. So when your VOD is created, your clips are made, then that goes off, that gets stored. And Twitch goes through it and recognizes the songs through a really nifty algorithm that a lot of engineers worked on to say, all right, this 5-minute section contains copyrighted music that the streamer does not have the right to use. It's muted. That'll typically help you with DMCA because it's hard for people to find and point to something that is muted and say, this contains infringing music. Well, where's your proof?
Interesting.
There's a really minor issue there, which seems to be that even if you do get the rights, there are a lot of situations where they're still muting the VOD and they don't unmute it. It seems really minor and something that we're working on. I'm sure it'll get resolved at some point soon.
Huh. I'd rephrase that question, would you? I lost you about halfway through there.
No question. It was just a comment from having a few friends of mine who had who apparently had the clear rights to the music, and it got muted, and they appealed the mute itself, and they simply weren't unmuting the thing, even though it should have been fine, because it's still fresh, still in fresh territory. It doesn't see that's not that big of a deal though.
Well, now your next question will be, and I'm supplying it to you right now, is
thank you.
If the VODs are muted, how did all those folks who got DMCA takedowns a few weeks ago, or I think it's 2 months ago now, those major streamers, how did they get DMCA notices? And the way it happened was because that song had not been officially released yet. It had been passed through peer-to-peer sharing. And like, for instance, Streamlabs has a way for you to do that, file sharing. And so it had been passed through, and they had played it and said, oh, this is cool. It's not released yet. That's nifty. And the VOD, it wasn't recognized in the VOD because it wasn't entered into this recognition system yet. And so it was left live. And so the song, which had not been released, was popping up all over the place. And so obviously the owner of the song, the publisher, went and said DMCA, 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 because it was out there, it was live, it hadn't been released, they didn't want anybody to hear it yet.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I remember like the artist tweeted like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, guys." I remember that.
Yeah, the artist was not concerned with having it taken down.
He didn't have, based on Noah's explanation, the full power to say whether or not that they could.
Right. Oh yeah, the artist had no say in it whatsoever. And it's funny. Right after that, everybody, like for instance, Ninja came out and said, "Oh, I better turn off this because I want to use it on YouTube later. I don't want to get a DMCA." Literally have that clip. I saved it for posterity. It's the best thing in the world. And the thing is, he was like, I wish, Drake would just say, I can use God's plan. Well, if you look it up, God's plan actually has 18 different rights holders. Yeah. That's nuts.
Huge.
Get wrecked, Ninja.
Wow.
Yeah. So it has 18 different rights holders. So even if Drake said, yeah, you're good to go, whitelist me, bro. He would have 17 other people that he has to get the rights from.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's so complex.
So now, you mentioned like, VODs getting muted and stuff like that. Does that make DMCA takedowns impossible? No. Why don't we see DMCAs more often? Like, is this like the music industry just hasn't really caught on, or do they see that it's beneficial to actually as promotion the same way games do? Little column
A, little column B. So one, yes, they do see it as beneficial. The majors, so there's 3 major music companies, they recognize, oh, hey, this song blowing up on Twitch, that's awesome. They will still issue a DMCA in a heartbeat, though. The second thing is it's difficult for a live stream. Nobody's really issued a DMCA to a live stream.
I mean, you have to watch it.
Right. You have to be watching it live. But then the song
would still have to be playing.
You're really fast.
Like, you have to play the same like songs like that they would all own, right? Like,
yeah. And so you have to get to it before the muting process came through. So for instance, if I'm live, I start at 9 a.m. I play a song at 9:30. Somebody would need to hear it at 9:30 or hear it before I finish streaming, and issue a DMCA to Twitch. Twitch would have to go back in, rewind, and hear it in order to get me live. But they can do it. It's just nobody's done it yet. When it happens, I have a feeling that the world's going to come crashing down on everybody, and everybody's going to start paying attention to this stuff. But for now, it hasn't happened yet. Now, there are discussions in the works, and some of this is confidential, that I can't talk about, so I won't go into it. There are discussions between the majors and Twitch right now, but they're in kind of a standstill. I saw a question earlier, why doesn't Amazon just roll out Amazon Prime Music that includes a streaming service? And that would be a great idea if somebody, I forget exactly who said that, but if good for you for thinking of that. The problem is,
I mean, I'm surprised that they aren't working on that. If they're not,
even if they are, if you look at it this way, Universal owns a catalog of 5 million tracks. They only have rights on both sides of the ball to the recording and the composition to maybe 500,000 of them. And it's more likely they only have it to 50,000.
That's a tiny fraction.
So if Universal doesn't even have those rights, how can they give it to Amazon Prime Music? Plus, Amazon Prime Music needs to go out and get the rights that they don't currently have, those performance rights. And so that means renegotiating contracts. And like I said, those are the most valuable sync rights are the most valuable rights that those musicians have. So they're not just going to get rid of them willy-nilly. Now, I know the Bezos has all the money in the world, but he doesn't have that much right now.
So how do radios work? Why can't we? How can we be like a radio station?
Radios. So the reason the music is in its current form, music law is in its current form, is because the radio and television lobby have kept digital streaming from being brought into the modern century. So it's an entirely different set of rules. Radio doesn't have to sync up with video. But if you have, like, for instance, MTV playing stuff, they get those rights. They negotiate those rights individually so that they can promote that stuff. But radio streaming, like over the airwaves, is even different from Pandora and Spotify. And actually, the rights that Pandora and Spotify need are different. And you think of those as interchangeable. So one of them is interactive and one of them is non-interactive. Spotify, you can pick which song you want. Pandora goes on algorithms. So Pandora is actually treated separately from Spotify. So music law is all janked up. But there's their Music Modernization Act is in Congress right now to fix some of that. But what it doesn't do is fix anything for us in this industry.
So we can't just buy a license like a radio station and play music?
No, and Universal's come out and said that unfortunately, the radio station, what they do is they get rights from ASCAP and BMI. And so they get commercial rights. So anytime you're in a bar and you hear, I got friends in low places playing over the radio, they have to pay every time that's used, and the artist does get compensated. If we could do that, that would be great, but you wouldn't be able to sync it up to video. So if you just want to be an audio only stream, go nuts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so what about like games like Rock Band or singing karaoke or Just Dance? Like that, some of these games have that music in them.
So
is that
something came out recently, Grand Theft Auto 2, I believe, or had some tracks in it. I think it was 2. I might be wrong on that. Had tracks in it that were, popular tracks and major hip hop hits. And so what ended up happening was they only got those rights very short-sightedly to play those tracks in the game for something like 5 years.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And so when they tried to get a re-release, those rights had expired. And so they couldn't re-release with those tracks. They had to get completely new tracks in. Otherwise, everything they had done, they would have been sued. The pants would have been sued off of them. However, it's important to remember that even if Grand Theft Auto has the right to synchronize that music in time with the video on the game, the cinematic part of the game, that contract is between Grand Theft Auto and the artist, or the artists, however. It is not between Grand Theft Auto, the artist, and you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it different if you're performing, though?
What was that?
Is it different if you're performing, like if you're singing the song or dancing,
So if you're performing, what you're doing is you're creating a cover. So I could come out here and sing Katy Perry's. She sang "Roar," right? That was a popular song of hers. Yeah, I could come out and sing "Roar." I'm not going to do it right now. I've had a lot of coffee. And but if
Come
on,
tease.
Man, you have to bring me back for that one. So I could come on and sing Roar right now. What I've done is I've created a cover. I have a right to make a cover. However, the right to authorize covers is issued by the rights holder. Let me break it down a little bit simpler because we're going to go into the weeds real quick. Hold on. Think of music rights as, here we go, a bundle of sticks. I have 3 highlighters here. This is the performance right. It's a completely separate right. I own this right. If I want to give you this right to perform, I copy this and give it to you, Lowco. This is the right to make a cover. I can copy this and give it to you, Hunter. This is the right to create a derivative work. And a derivative work is something like a cover. If I give you the right to create a derivative work, cool. You can sing that song. You can release that song if you want. And you have something called a mechanical license, which allows you to create covers and sell them on iTunes for a set price. However, what I'm not giving you the right is to synchronize the underlying composition. So even if you're not using Katy Perry's version of Roar, the author of Roar has a synchronization right that you got to get as well.
Oof.
You following me there?
How does this work with things like Weird Al?
Weird Al gets the rights directly from the music owners. The one time he didn't release the track. He'll record it. He'll send it to them and say, "This is what I want to do. Can I release this?" Get everything in writing. But he's got unreleased songs.
He's not making money off of that yet, so it's not an issue.
Yeah, exactly.
So what if the game has the right to that song? You're still subject to the DMCA?
I'm sorry, what was that? I had thunder literally hit.
Yeah, I can hear a little bit of that.
I heard that too. So if you're playing a game that has the rights,
right?
Are you still are you still not safe?
Yeah. So for instance, if you're playing Fallout 76 and a really catchy cover of Country Roads comes on, and you theoretically could get a DMCA for that because Fallout 76 has the right, but you don't.
Interesting.
Yeah. So be very careful. That's the number one thing I can tell streamers is if you have in-game music, turn off all in-game music and turn off all in-game sounds.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how much.
Yeah. Well, I think
we'll see games now give this an option in the settings, turn off copyright music.
That's part of it.
I really think that I would love to see that happening more. There have been some games. I think the first one I saw it in was Steep, which was my favorite realistic snowboarding game or snow sports game. They had the option to turn off the copyrighted music, and so they would have this, these ambient sounds and just some stuff that was kind of like jazzing you up a little bit, but it wasn't anything that wasn't recognizable. It's kind of generic but catchy. Right. Something they had created for that. That was fantastic. The first time I saw that, I was like, "That's so great!" Now my VOD's not going to be muted, even though the music's in the game. I can select this. I can turn this on and off. That awareness of the streaming and content creation space by the developers, I think, is incredible. I mean, it's great. I'd love to see so much more of that. And it seems like a relatively easy thing to do as well.
It is. And one of the things that I would recommend in that when we're talking about this space, one of the things that I see all the time on YouTube videos is no copyright intended, or this is non-copyrighted music or something like that. Keep in mind, once it's fixed in a tangible medium of expression, copyright attaches. It'll always have a copyright. It's whether or not you have the right to use it. So I think what they gave you was they gave you the right to use that music in the game, which I think is awesome. And I would love to see more people doing that.
So then you hear a lot of people say, well, what about fair use? Fair use. It's fair use. What is fair use?
That term is bandied about. Yeah.
Fair use is crap. What people say is, okay, well, I'm doing a Let's Play video, and I'm going to show you how to level up in World of Warcraft. It's educational. It's fair use. Or I am here. I am streaming, again, The Binding of Isaac or something. It's transforming the work because I'm adding commentary to it. So it's transformative. It's fair use. That is utter crap. And the reason is, one, it's a very, very, very thin claim to say that, Let's Play of Leveling Up in WoW is purely educational. It's also entertaining. I would take that argument to the bank. I would argue that in court, but not a court in this country is going to understand what we're talking about right now. So not a single judge will side with you because they just don't know what we're talking about. So they won't say that that's educational. They'll say that's purely entertainment. If you're playing Binding of Isaac, you're saying it's transformative because you added commentary to it. But the reason people are there is for the game. Yes, you guys are very entertaining people, but there's going to be some people there that are there for the game. And so that's why we talk about top of channel. Gee, Merry Christmas. And so fair use, whenever you hear the term fair use, I want you just to immediately take whoever said it to you. If they're saying, but this is fair use, by the shoulders and shake them until they stop talking about fair use, because it just doesn't work.
It doesn't apply to any situation that you can think of with content creators?
Fair use could potentially apply, and that is one of the cases I would love to take. If anybody thinks they have a valid claim of fair use and they want to go to federal court, I will for you. It's just going to cost you a lot of money. Fair use is a defense. It's not a right.
Yeah.
You have to be sued to claim fair use. And unless you are literally Lyric or Ninja or somebody like that, you don't have the funds to do that. So it's better to just play it safe. And now,
my shoe resoling business is going really well right now. Okay. Like I may be able to pull this off.
Oh, hey, perfect. You're good to go. There was a major case. It's called Lens v. Universal. LENZ v. Universal. Basically, what ended up happening was this lady uploaded a video of her baby dancing. It was adorable. The baby was dancing to Prince, and Prince was playing in the background. And Universal issued a DMCA takedown notice because it had Prince playing in the background. And the lady fought it pretty far up in federal court, to the point where it's looking at it's actually something we use as precedent. And so what they ended up saying was, basically, people are there to watch a cute baby dancing. They're not there to listen to Prince. And that was a major victory for fair use. There's a recent decision called the H3 decision that you guys might have heard about, blowing up the Twitterverse. Michael Lee worked on that, actually. He's a great attorney. I recommend following him on Twitter, at Geek Attorney. It was a major win for fair use as well. But the problem is, in each of these decisions, the judges narrowed the decision to be applicable to very specific facts. And so it was so narrowed as to be almost useless for us as general lay people. I think fair use, there is an argument there, but until you have the funds to fight it, I don't claim it ever. And also, please never say that, somebody can't take down your video because it's free speech, because free speech only applies against the government.
I hear that bandied about all the time too.
Yeah.
In 2018 America, especially. Okay. I have the specific one that I think is something that concerns a lot of us,
right,
especially in its ubiquity, the ubiquity of the issue. What about when it comes to all the little snippets that we're using here and there? We want to grab something from here. We want to use it in an alert. And I'm talking about audio. I'm talking about video at the same time, like using a GIF for an alert, using a song, a part of a movie, a part of a video game.
So basically, how much is enough to be liable?
Sure. And what should we be concerned with here?
I've got two answers for you. Well, three. First is the typical lawyer answer. It's the best lawyer answer in the world. Is it all depends.
Of course.
Sometimes just write IAD for short. But you got your practical risk and your legal risk.
Sure.
And this is where I'm going to repeat. This is not legal advice. This is for informational purposes only. Please, God, talk to a lawyer. And I'm not your lawyer yet. You can hire me if you want. But your legal risk is that no matter how tiny, no matter how little it is, even if it's one note, in theory, it could be infringing, and you could be liable for it. For example, if you look at Ice Ice Baby, that was actually a pretty famous case in the music world. They found that only a small snippet of Under Pressure was needed in order to have liability from in Ice Ice Baby. It's a very popular song, but certain people end up paying a lot of money as a result of that case. Your practical risk, say you got an alert and it's, hey, listen, that kind of thing. Your practical risk is that you are very likely not going to get muted or legally attacked for that because it's so small. You probably haven't gotten any money from it, and there's no damages to the company that owns those rights. So going after you would not be worth the legal fees they'd have.
Yeah, what's the point kind of situation? Yeah.
But theoretically, you're liable for it. And if you incur enough to the point where they think, oh, yeah, we should go back and sue them for everything in the past 2 years, that's when you're in trouble.
If my sub alert is the entirety of John Wick and it's plays just like right here in totality.
That changes when you add bulk gift subbing in, because then it's just John Wick for like days.
Yeah. Yes. I have the new John Wick stream.
Oh my God.
If Ninja had a 3-second clip of John Wick, would be
because of his
horrible.
size, scope,
right? Like
he likely would be in trouble. In fact, I am surprised. Oh man, I might get smacked for this one.
Better scale.
Ninja uses the Pon Pon song and dance. He doesn't have the rights to that, as far as I know. If he doesn't have the rights, he's in trouble there. I expect he's probably gotten those rights by now.
Right.
But it's a good example of, hey, that's an alert. He doesn't use very much, but it's enough.
So I have another question, and then we'll get into chat's questions. So if you guys have anything for our Q&A, feel free to throw it in chat. We'll try to get through as much as we can in the time we have left. Is there anything about what we do as content creators that is protected? Like, do we have rights? Do we have protections?
Yes. When you are creating something, say you're streaming an amazing Spider-Man stream like you did earlier today, Lowco. Great job. You theoretically have created a derivative work of that game, of that video. And I would say that even though you're potentially infringing, you still have created your own copyrighted work. And that's the crazy thing. Here's a weird little twist for you. If you create a derivative work like a cover, you created a copyrighted work that you have your entire own bundle of rights in. So the original copyright holder can't then go and take your work and make something without your permission.
So if I play Katy Perry on my stream and someone makes a video and puts it on their YouTube of me playing Katy Perry on my stream, and then Katy Perry takes down my stream,
you could still go after the person who stole your stream.
You still hold the rights to your own production, your own
right.
Me streaming, listening to Katy Perry on my stream.
Here's an even better one.
Wow.
Is if you sing Roar and Katy Perry DMCA's you, takes it down, and then takes your recording of Roar and streams it, you could DMCA her for taking down your using your copyrighted work.
I would never.
We could hit her up for some money though.
That is true.
I see the immediately pertinent question of, is Twitch fails things like Twitch fails, is that problematic?
Oh,
Yes.
And my understanding is
they
completely
do get taken down from big streamers. Like, I'm pretty
but typically
sure.
it's the same kind of situation. Like, as much as that, you don't like that. The tendency is that we appreciate the attention. Ultimately, it's a bad press is, any press is good, that kind of thing. The bad press still functions toward getting our name out there and toward helping to, build brand recognition. Even if there's that one negative thing, we tend to, usually we're like, yeah.
The thing is, like, if you just use Ninja as an example, like, he doesn't need random, so like that's like they're benefiting from his name, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
And I'm sure he's been active on trying to stop that.
I don't have direct proof that he has, but I have heard that he is very active about that. One of the places that he gets most infringed is on Instagram, actually.
Really?
It's kind of amazing because people take little clips of what he does and upload them to like Fortnite source and stuff like that. But you asked, your main question that I kind of sent us on a tangent was, what rights do streamers have? You have rights in your work. You have the right to counterclaim for DMCA. And so let me explain what a counterclaim is. If you get a DMCA and you think you have the right to use that, say you were streaming Firewatch, as far as you know, Firewatch has not revoked your right to have that video, then you can counterclaim, which is basically saying, I swear under penalty of perjury that I do have the right to use this content, or somebody who you've authorized to act as your agent swears that for you. Then that's a counter notification. Your work will go back up, if that makes sense. So on YouTube, your work's taken down, you counterclaim, your work goes back up, unless the person who issued the notice can provide proof that they have issued a lawsuit against you.
So then the burden's on them at that point.
The burden's back on them. And that is your way to fight false DMCA claims. If you counter notify, then they have to sue you at that point. And so you'd be amazed how many people come to us and say, at us law firm, and say, I want to issue a DMCA. I'm like, well, do they have the right? And they say, they don't have that right. And so I say, well, what if they counterclaim and say they have the right? Do you have the ability to sue them? And whenever you issue a DMCA notice, you need to be ready for the counterclaim, be ready to actually institute a suit.
Okay, so right before we get into the Q&A, I'm wondering if there's a brief version of the process that you could walk us through of actually filing a DMCA. Because I way back, like 3 years ago, I saw in chat right here that somebody was saying, asking, what prevents somebody from just any random Joe from filing claims, and and there are protections in place. Like you're putting things on the line. You don't just get to like log in under an alternate account on Reddit and file a claim. Like that's not really how it works. How does that work in a distilled fashion?
So basically how the process works, the DMCA process?
Yeah.
So you would file the notice. You'd swear all those things we talked about before.
Where are you filing it? Where does it go?
So it goes to a DMCA registered agent. So for example, at my office, we serve as DMCA registered agent for a number of companies. We receive official notices of DMCA takedowns. And if we receive those, we have to take it down. And so that way they all go to a particular person. If you do not have a DMCA registered agent, you risk losing your safe harbor status. Plain and simple. YouTube has an automated way of doing it, of submitting DMCAs, because they do them all the time. Twitch has a designated copyright agent. And that's the same thing. And you can look it up. Actually, they don't make it very easy to find. Oh, there we go. All right, cool. So for instance, if you wanted to issue one on Twitch or for Curse, because they're the same thing, you would send it to attention, copyright agent, 350 Bush Street, 2nd floor, San Francisco, California, 94104. Or just email them or call it in, because people apparently use phones still. And so you would do it that way. They would pass it on to the proper people who would take care of it, make sure it's legit, make sure it has all the proper things, which didn't happen in Lyric's case. And then they take the content down. And likely issue a ban, although that's a separate policy. That's Twitch's own internal policy.
On Twitch's side, yeah.
The way that you would submit a counterclaim would be to go to the same person and swear under penalty of perjury. You have the right to have that content up there, and then you have a good faith belief that what they say directly is you have a good faith belief that the material was removed or disabled as a result of mistake or misidentification of material to be removed or disabled. And then you have to consent to the jurisdiction of federal district court, which is slightly different from the people who issue the takedown. And then it goes back up. And it's that simple.
Okay.
So you do have people that are DMCA trolls that go out there and just willy-nilly file them. And you will have people that are malicious in that way. That happens. It's unfortunate.
Okay.
For
and
instance,
so protection,
you have somebody that's sitting out there in the middle of Siberia, and you're sitting, I'm sitting here in Richmond, Virginia, and somebody's in the middle of Siberia and they issue a false DMCA notice against me. My material will be taken down. I'll get a strike, a temporary ban. I'll be able to counterclaim and get my material back up, but I'll have lost that time where it was up. And there's nothing, basically, unless I go to the ends of the earth to try and locate them in the middle of Siberia, that can be done to take care of that. Because the law is not cut up to the space yet.
As it typically is with technology, I think.
Yeah, seems to be pretty. Seen a lot more of that lately. Like with the Facebook hearing, like some of the questions that we heard were just so like 1985. It's like they're just not even relevant. You don't understand the internet itself. Policymakers, a lot of that's not up to speed at all.
Right. Interesting.
So we do have a couple of questions, and we'll try our best to get through them as quickly as we can because we're running out of time.
Sure.
But Dirty Polo asks, anything to cover the EU Article 13? It's not directly music, but copyright based, and something that a lot of EU people know much about.
I'm going to come out and fully say I am not 100% up on EU stuff. I'm a U.S.-based attorney, and so everything I'm telling you is based on U.S. law. EU is something I'm looking into for one of my clients right now, and I'd be happy to follow up with you, Dirty Polo, because I'm going to know a lot more about that by Friday. But right now, I'm going to say I don't really know.
That's okay. Craig asks, I look at Twitch as just one enormous minefield and tidal wave of infringements. The only thing keeping it afloat is nobody has cared to do something about it. True or not true?
Twitch is a minefield and tidal wave of infringements. Nobody's cared enough. The eyes are not on Twitch. It happened, and it's coming. So what happened with YouTube about 5 years ago is a major YouTuber who did like makeup videos got nailed with music DMCAs to the tune of millions. And she got sued at $150,000 per infringement.
Yeah, I do remember
that's what
this.
Statutory damages go to. It's $750 to $150,000. So what ended up happening was she ended up settling out of court, but she got nailed and then all of a sudden YouTube said, "Oh man, this is a real thing." They tightened up and started getting serious about it. That's coming on Twitch, and that's why you keep seeing these DMCA incidents popping up all over the place lately.
It's been happening much more frequently.
Yeah. Twitch is internally freaking out about it. I can tell you that based on some of the conversations
I would too.
I mean, what can they do? Like, how do you tackle this? Like in a live platform? Like
you don't. We don't have a way to do it yet.
Yeah, it seems like it's just catch up. Here's the thing that's happening this week. Let's respond to that.
You can be sure that Twitch will take care of Twitch first, which means they're going to do everything they can to protect their safe harbor status, make sure they can't get sued. When it comes to music, they're a little bit exposed right now. one thing I recommend, and you both do this, is to use pretzel locks to
Mhm.
protect yourselves. But Twitch is not going to help their streamers. They'll help their biggest ones to keep them streaming because that's what brings popularity.
Well, there's only so much help they can do.
Right.
Like, I don't
They
expect
can't help.
them to reach out to me and everybody else.
How many partners are there? Like 50,000?
It's definitely many. It's
Yeah.
over 30. That's for sure.
And there's like 200,000 affiliates. And then there's just a bunch of people who are non-monetized streamers.
3 million accounts that have streamed.
Something insane like that. And
Yeah.
there's no way that Twitch can help them all. So
Yeah.
they're going to protect themselves and focus on what they can. And that makes sense. But
Yes.
as a streamer, what you can do to protect yourself is make sure that you can reach out to game devs directly and say, hey, can I have a license in writing to use this? Talk to your attorney about that kind of thing. Have an attorney. That sounds very self-serving, but God, have an attorney. And then make sure your music is up to snuff. No copyright sounds, 99 lives, pretzel, whatever.
Love 99 Lives. Approaching Nirvana. Those
Yeah.
guys are great.
Awesome.
I actually just linked out a page we have on our site that has a bunch of different songs, tools, websites that you can use for safe music. There's a lot out there. Pretzels makes it easy, right? Because it's just the player. You don't have to go and curate your own music.
One of the things I want to point out real quick, clicking on that list, the Twitch Music Library is not maintained. A lot of the a lot of this stuff on the Twitch Music Library is actually they've lost the license for.
Really?
Yeah. So be careful when you use that. They were time restricted and that time ran out.
That's kind of unfortunate. Like it's like they saw the problem and they were trying to fix it, but then they just
didn't.
They're like, nah.
They didn't.
We tried. We tried.
So be careful.
Almost.
Dang. Well, that's unfortunate.
The thing about Monster Cat, though, is it's like, and actually with a lot of these sites, you have to keep in mind, there are attributions. Like, just because it's copyright safe does not mean you don't have to attribute your music. So check to see what the song requires. Sometimes you need a link below the stream. Like with Monster Cat, you need to display Monster Cat below your stream. They have licenses that you can buy. And a lot of these other sites as well, like you still have to provide proper attribution.
And I will say, if I may get a quick one more plug for Pretzel in there, Pretzel provides the attribution. It has a chat bot that automatically pops in and says, here's what's playing, here's how you can access it, and it has no copyright sounds. All of their music is on Pretzel, as is Popsky, as is 99 Lives.
Love Popsky.
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see what other questions we have. Dirty Poe asked about loss of revenue due to DMCA. Can you do anything about that?
Potentially, if you have enough money to sue. It depends on how much lost revenue you got.
It would seem that would even.
I feel like it would be more costly to.
Yeah, exactly what I was thinking. Like, it's you're not really gonna. You're just like,
if you're gonna spend $200,000 to get $150,000, don't do it.
Yeah.
Space Shark asks, I found a lot of conflicting information concerning reading books on stream. Am I able to perform a reading of a copyrighted work, or is it still a violation?
It is totally a violation unless you have permission from the publisher. And I actually have a few clients that do this on stream, and they need to be very careful. You need to reach out to the publisher. You need to reach out to the author who can put you in touch with the publisher. Fortunately, with books, you've got one person who owns those rights typically. So it's very easy to get those rights. And honestly, they're not looking to make a lot of money off that kind of thing. And so they'll typically give it to you, but make sure you get it in writing. But be careful with books on stream.
I imagine the same thing that we discussed before about video games themselves applies to this. What about games that have books? Can we read those books when we're not playing the game on stream?
Well, if the book existed, say
just in the game, Skyrim has tons of books.
Yeah, you're good to go because that's part of the game. It's part of one of the many. So each game is not just one copyright; it's a compilation of copyrights. You got your individual data points, coding that goes into the game, the art, everything, the music. But yes, if you have the right to stream the game, you have the right to stream everything in the game, unless it's specifically carved out. Great question. That was an awesome question.
Yeah, we have some really good questions here. I'm really happy with these questions. We have a question from Vlad, who asks, is it true that the first DMCA violation of Twitch is always a warning / video takedown, no actual fines?
That is generally true, but is not 100% true. If Twitch decides they don't like your nose, they can smack you and permaban you on the first one.
Yes.
But does that come with financial penalties?
Like legally obligated financial penalty?
I think it'll definitely hit your pocket if you're a monetized streamer. There is not typically a financial penalty from Twitch. Twitch can't fine you for that. But if you have intentionally infringed on somebody's work, then they can sue you one instance of infringement. $750 punitive damages to $150,000 damage.
Like you were talking about with that initial YouTube one.
Yeah. So think about it. If you play 4 songs back to back and you know you're infringing, that's $600,000 you could be spending.
Yeah, but we're streamers. That's nothing.
Yeah, that's 12 minutes. That's 12 minutes back. 12 minutes of your life.
Boy.
Interesting. I feel like I had a follow up to that, but I forgot. Lucid asks, is it possible infringement using something like Sound Alerts, a newer Twitch extension that plays sound clips within their library for bits?
Hey, Lucid Fox, good to see you, buddy. Yes, the answer is yes. Possible infringement. I don't know what Sound Alerts legal looks like. So that's my disclaimer. If they don't have the proper rights, then potentially, yeah. Sound Alerts may be protected under the DMCA as a service provider, providing that service of playing sound clips within their library.
So the streamer would be in trouble.
So the streamer could get in trouble.
The extension is just facilitating it and making money off of it.
So we're not saying that that's the case because we don't know what Sound Alerts is.
I'm sure that Sound Alerts is great. I will tell you, I will call out one company. Let's do it. What ended up happening was Streamlabs rolled out. Yeah, I'm doing it. Streamlabs, you're huge. Come at me, bro. Streamlabs rolled out something that allowed song requests, and they said, yeah, you can do song requests. It'll pull it from YouTube. And then they used the Chainsmokers as their example. And I will tell you right now, that is infringing 100%. And they were encouraging people to infringe and not caring a damn about the streamer. That was the one time I crashed.
Is that are they legally at fault for that? Or is that can they just say that good luck, guys?
I am going to decline to answer that question.
Okay.
Because that's dangerously bordering on having to give legal advice. I will say that it is not good. And they later recanted that statement. So good on them doing that, but they should have had their lawyers check it out in the first place.
To me, it's just an idiot on the internet.
Labs and is looking at this right now, give me a call. I'll help you work through it.
Cool.
Kimmy asks, I don't know if you work with any creative streamers, but how would it work for people making art that is based off games, people's likeness, etc., if you make revenue during their streams?
So here, this is how I get to tell you another fun factoid. Thank you, Kimmy, for that question.
Alley-oop.
Yeah. So making art that is based off games is a nice little gray area because technically you're creating a derivative work. If you create all right, so Disney is the reason that copyright law exists in its current form. Every time the Mickey Mouse registration comes up for expiration, Disney's lobbyists extend the life of a copyright. It's amazing. So if you go about a year out from when Mickey Mouse is going to expire, you'll look around, and within 12 months, the length of a copyright will be extended another 10 years. Under statute. So right now it's life of the author plus 70 years. So if I died today, anything I created will have copyright for 70 years. The reason I use that example is because if you make art based off of Mickey Mouse, the big mouse is coming after you. The question of whether or not they succeed is another question. I don't know that they would, depending on how you did the art. And the revenue you make from the streams probably is a drop in the bucket to Disney because they are massive. But theoretically, you could be infringing. I'd need to see it before I could give you a full example, but it's something to be careful of.
Because you see, I feel like you see, people who make, Overwatch drawings and prints and stuff, and, they, sell that, and, or, Pokemon emotes and stuff,
Yeah, so Pokemon emotes are, in theory, infringing. It's unlikely that that'll be enforced.
But, like, what if you make, like, I guess so what I've seen, the way streamers get about it, go around it, is that they kind of make some subtle changes so it's looks slightly different, but, like, you know what it is? Like,
And that can be actually used against you because it's showing that you knew that you had a copyright and you intentionally circumvented it.
Yep.
So in theory, you could get in trouble there.
See, like,
and one of the most common cease and desists I see is for shirts that are potentially infringing, like a Soldier 76 shirt.
Yeah.
I actually sent one of those. That was fun.
This is one of that. This right here is one of the more interesting conversations that I always had in the art world of how much is enough for you to be far enough away for it to be free and clear. And it seems like it's never been 100% clarified. You
Right.
just have to see it and determine it in the moment.
I cannot tell you what infringement is, but I'll know it when I see it.
Yeah, the classic.
Yep.
So let's see. Do you have something you want to add to that?
I was gonna say it's a legal gray area, and it's why I have a job.
Yeah.
All right, we got 2 more questions, and then we're gonna wrap it up. And then if you guys have more questions, I invite you to reach out to Noah, my lawyer friend here, and I'm sure he'll be happy to help you and have you as a client. So Craig asks, who today is in the best position to negotiate the rights for a large library of popular music and make it available through a service to streamers? I think we discussed, like, I mean, if Amazon can, I don't know if anyone.
It sounded like nobody's in a great position to do it.
I will tell you right now, Universal and Amazon are in a standstill, like a standoff, Mexican standoff. That's all I can say, but it's interesting. Because based on an article that recently came out in Forbes, the music industry is now aware of Twitch. The article is literally something to the effect of, actually, let me pull it up real quick. Forbes, how Amazon's Twitch TV cheats music creators.
I saw that one. Yeah.
So, and full disclosure, I'm quoted in that article defending, content creators. So because they reached out to me for comment, I was like, listen, these are my clients. I got to defend them.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's in your corner.
That's right. But I think if anyone could do it, it would be Amazon. That's it.
Well, it sounds like we're in under a good umbrella at the moment then.
Yeah. In theory. If anyone could do it.
In theory. Yeah.
All right. So we have one more question from Mission Star, who says, what about news shows on Twitch that cover video game news and show, like, video game footage? Are game news shows safe to some degree? Does it fall under, like, everything else on Twitch?
I will say game news, that is probably the safest of everything we've talked about so far. There's an element of trouble there. For instance, a game news site can't just have free license to play Katy Perry, like, as their intro. But if they're doing a special on Fallout 76, again, I really want to play that game. When they're doing a special on Fallout 76, they're doing a news segment on it. It's likely that they'll be okay. And they probably wouldn't get a DMCA in the event that nobody was allowed to stream Fallout 76 because they're reporting. It would have to be applied to specific facts, but I think they're in the best position of all of the ones we've talked about. Because what they're doing is they're reporting, they're providing a service that people aren't there for the game, they're there for the news. So,
All right. Well, this is an episode.
That time flew by.
Yep.
Oh, there's no more tornadoes, by the way.
Got my notes.
That's good. So we're gonna do some shout outs. My lawyer friend, thank you so much, first of all, for taking some valuable time to sit with us. And this has been amazing. This was a great simple breakdown of a lot of really important topics in this field of content creation.
Thank you
where
for
can we find
informally
you?
sharing your expertise.
Right. So where can we find you?
I'm happy to do it. This has been excellent. I'd be happy to come back anytime you have any legal questions.
You'll be back.
There. You can find me you can hit me up on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitch. I plan on streaming sometime in, March of 2019 potentially. I'm kidding.
It's a strong plan. It's March 19th specifically.
Yep. And if you hit me up, I'll try and reply as fast as possible. I do get a lot of that stuff, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody. I work in this field. I was telling these guys earlier that, I'm a lawyer, and I try and help people in this industry as much as possible with anything they need.
And he is for hire, and I have personally worked with him, and he is fantastic. I can absolutely vouch for Noah doing wonderful work. Easy to work with. He understands the space, which, as all of you who stream out there, how important that is. Somebody not coming from the complete outside. You need somebody who's in the space right here.
Awesome. Thank you.
And Hunter, what about you?
I'm the HunterWild. I'm Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I'm streaming this right now, and I'm really excited for Assassin's Creed Odyssey coming up. I sometimes say smart things. I mostly say dumb things on my stream at twitch.tv/TheHunterWild. On Twitter at TheHunterWild TV. It's got the TV at the end. Still it's a long haul, but we're working on getting that carved off, removed, sliced out. It's an extra appendage. We don't need it. Streaming, all the time and such when I can. What about you, Lowco? What you up to? What you doing?
I'm starting Tomb Raider tomorrow. So
nice. It's very fun.
I saw your Larry Croft cosplay. It looked great.
Larry David Croft.
The beard really helps, I think.
Or the Bronx.
But yeah, so I'll be playing Tomb Raider tomorrow. You can find me on twitch.tv/Lowco, Lowco2525 on Twitter. And we are Streamer Square here. We do weekly shows every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. I will be here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern doing the Stream Doctor. Though there is a chance I might start an hour late depending on how Tomb Raider's going. But I will be here tomorrow to do the Stream Doctor. So if you guys want to show up for that, that's basically where I will review your stream. Like, you can submit your stream and I will take a look at it, give you advice. It usually leads to some really good discussions, so I like it a lot. Very, very interesting channels and ideas that people have. So and I'm a pro PUBG player apparently. I was at a tournament yesterday. Did pretty well, so
nice.
I guess I'm playing more PUBG. And yeah, one thing I do want to add is TwitchCon's coming up. I'm seeing you guys at TwitchCon in your names. Hunter and I will be on a panel there at TwitchCon called Behind the Stream, The Life of a Broadcaster. They basically talk about things like work-life balance and things that go into the making of a stream, the making of content creation, things that you might not even think about that happens with full-time broadcasters and people just starting. So I'm going to link that in chat. That is going to be Friday at 2 p.m. So feel free to jot that on your calendars if you are going to TwitchCon.
We'd love to see you there.
Right, it's a chance for you guys to see us live, ask questions, and say hi to us. So we hope to see you guys there. But that's pretty much it. Check out our website. I did link up some copyright safe music in the chat. I'll do that again. If you guys are looking for some safe resources, Pretzel Rocks, we've mentioned, is a really cool tool for streamers that takes all that work out of creation, basically. So check us out. Check out our website. Yeah, sure.
I'm actually going to be at TwitchCon too.
Awesome.
And so I would love to meet up with you guys. And I'm also on 4 panels related to law. So we should hang out for those.
4?
Yeah. That is insane.
It's too many.
That is awesome. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we hope to see a lot of you guys there. We'll be back next week at 5 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. And I'll be here tomorrow. So thank you guys for tuning in. Check out our website, join our Discord, and check out MyLawyerFriend if you have more legal questions. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.